Daniel Reeves had everything a man could dream of. Wealth so vast he couldn't spend it across several lifetimes. Recognition, his face had graced the covers of business journals and lifestyle magazines. Influence, whenever he entered a room, every conversation paused and every eye turned. But none of it could fill the hollow space that had opened up inside him 8 months ago, the night his wife disappeared without a single word. Tonight, though, everything was about to change. He was going to see her again, just not in any way he had ever imagined. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, please let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? New York? London? Maybe South Africa or Jamaica? We want to know. The restaurant was called Obsidian, and it was the most exclusive dining establishment in the entire city. Chandelier crystals cascaded from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. The floors were polished black granite that reflected candlelight like still water. The clientele was strictly elite: tech founders, film producers, senators, and diplomats. Daniel Reeves walked through the arched entrance at precisely 8 o'clock sharp, his posture straight, his expression unreadable.
Shall we find our table?
Beside him walked Camille, his girlfriend of 3 months, wearing a champagne-colored gown that turned heads as they moved through the room. Mr. Reeves, the maitre d' appeared immediately, almost as if summoned. Your table is ready, the best seat in the house, overlooking the garden. They were seated near a floor-to-ceiling window. Daniel glanced at his phone the moment he sat down. Camille frowned. Can you please put that away, just for one evening? I'm in the middle of something, Daniel said. You're always in the middle of something, Camille replied, folding her napkin precisely across her lap. Daniel reluctantly set the phone face down on the table. His mind drifted, the way it often did these days, back 8 months to the evening he'd come home to silence, to the perfectly made bed and the empty closet, to his wife, Maya, to the fact that she had simply vanished. He'd told himself she had chosen to leave, that she was done, that he had to move on. He was reaching for the menu when someone approached the table. Good evening, and welcome to Obsidian. May I start you both with something to drink? The voice was soft, measured, professional, but the moment Daniel heard it, every nerve in his body went rigid. He lowered the menu slowly, then his entire world collapsed into a single shattering moment.
Certainly, sir.
Standing beside their table, dressed in the restaurant's black server uniform, holding a small notepad and a pen, was his wife, Maya. But that was not the most devastating part. She was pregnant. She was very pregnant. Time stopped. The ambient noise of the restaurant fell away as if someone had pressed mute. Daniel could not breathe. He could not think. His heart hammered against his ribs so hard it hurt. Maya stood there, her expression perfectly composed. Her hand held the pen without trembling. And then their eyes met, just for a single unbearable second. In her gaze, Daniel saw the woman he had lost. He saw a pain he did not yet understand. He saw someone wearing a familiar face, but living a life entirely separate from his own. And he saw her belly, round and undeniable beneath the fabric uniform. She's pregnant, the thought struck him like a physical blow. Whose child? When had this happened? But deep in a place below logic, he already suspected the answer. Daniel? Camille's voice cut through the fog. Are you all right? You've gone completely pale. Daniel couldn't find any words. His lips parted, but nothing came. Maya remained perfectly still, the polished professional. She stood as though they were strangers, as though she hadn't once been his wife, as though she hadn't once whispered, "I love you," in the dark. Sir, Maya's voice said, steady, what can I bring you to drink this evening? That voice, the same voice that used to say his name like it was something precious. Now it was distant, calibrated, hollow. Camille looked between them, confusion flickering across her face. Do you two know each other? Daniel finally spoke. It came out fractured. Maya? Something moved in Maya's eyes, grief perhaps, or fear, and then it was gone. I'll return when you're both ready to order, she said, quietly, and began to turn away. Wait! Daniel stood so abruptly that his chair scraped loudly against the granite floor. Several nearby tables turned to look. Maya stopped, She did not turn around. "What are you doing here?" Daniel's hands trembled. "Where have you been? Why did you leave? Is that—" His gaze dropped to her belly. "Is that—" "Daniel," Camille grabbed his sleeve. "Sit down. People are staring." But Daniel could not sit down. The only thing that existed was the woman standing 3 feet away from him. Maya turned slowly, her eyes heavy. She had the look of someone who hadn't truly slept in months. Shadows under her eyes, a leanness around her face, small marks on her hands from physical work. But her chin was lifted. "I'm working, sir," she said, laying particular weight on that last word. "Please don't make this difficult." The floor manager materialized immediately. "Is there a concern here?" "No concern at all," Maya said quickly. "I was just taking their order." Daniel felt like he was drowning in open air. His wife, his missing wife, was pretending he was a stranger. Camille tugged his arm sharply. The manager looked at Daniel with barely concealed concern. Around them, the quiet music felt obscene. Daniel's legs gave slightly. He sat back down. "Everything's fine," he said, though the words tasted like ash. "Perhaps another server," the manager began. "Yes," Maya said immediately. "I'll send Marcus over." She walked away between the tables, disappeared through the kitchen doors. Daniel stared after her, every instinct in his body screaming. Camille's voice was low and sharp. Who was that? Daniel couldn't answer. "Oh my God," Camille's eyes widened. "Is that your ex-wife? The one who disappeared?" Still, Daniel said nothing. He was staring at the kitchen door. "She's pregnant, Daniel." Camille's voice climbed higher. "Is that your child?" "I don't know," he whispered. "You don't know?" Camille stood, her hands shaking. "You brought me to the finest restaurant in this city, and your pregnant ex-wife is our server? This is humiliating." "Camille, I didn't know she would be here." "I don't care." She reached for her bag. "I saw the way you looked at her, like she was the only real thing in the room. Don't call me Daniel." Her heels clicked across the granite floor. Every diner in the section watched her go. Daniel sat alone at the table set for 2, his $20 million acquisition strategy suddenly feeling like the most meaningless thing in the world. He waited. 5 minutes. 10. A new server arrived. Daniel sent him away. Finally, he stood. The kitchen doors swung open when he pushed through them. The manager called after him, but Daniel didn't stop. Inside, the kitchen was loud and hot and urgent, cooks calling to each other, burners blazing, steam everywhere. And there in the far corner, sitting on a wooden stool with her face in her hands, was Maya. Her shoulders were shaking. She was crying. Something in Daniel's chest cracked wide open. He crossed the kitchen slowly. The noise seemed to recede. "Maya," he said softly. Her head came up instantly. When she saw him, she stood and wiped her eyes in one swift motion. "You can't be in here. This is a staff area." "I don't care." "Daniel." "Just 5 minutes, please." "There is nothing to talk about." She tried to move past him. He stepped gently into her path. "Please." A broad-shouldered cook named Marcus looked over. "Is this guy giving you trouble, Maya?" "It's fine, Marcus." Her voice was unsteady. "He's leaving." But Daniel didn't move. He simply stood and looked at her, really looked at her, in a way he realized he had stopped doing somewhere during their marriage. She was thinner, except for her belly. Her hands were calloused and had small marks, the kind that came from hard work. She looked exhausted to her bones. But she was still exactly the person he had loved, still impossibly his wife. "The baby," he said quietly. "Is it mine?" Maya's jaw tightened. "That's not your concern. You're my wife." "Was." The word was sharp as glass, past tense. "We are still legally married, Maya. You never filed." "And whose fault is that?" The bitterness in her voice surprised him. "You really have no idea, do you? You left without a word. One evening you were there, and the next morning you were gone. No note, no call, nothing." "Something terrible happened to me, Daniel." Her voice broke slightly, but you were too busy to see it coming. The kitchen manager appeared. I'm sorry, but this really does need to happen elsewhere. We have a full house. Maya nodded. I'm going back to my section. No, Daniel said. You're not. Not tonight. I will pay whatever you would have earned this shift. Triple it. I don't care. Just talk to me. Maya stared at the wallet he'd drawn from his jacket. Something crossed her face. Not gratitude. Something that looked very much like disgust. Money, she said the word quietly. You think money can reach into any situation and reshape it. That's not what that is exactly what you mean. She untied her apron and handed it to the kitchen manager. I'm taking my break. She walked out through the back door. Daniel followed her into the narrow alley behind the restaurant. A single bulb cast pale yellow light on the damp bricks. Maya leaned against the wall, her hand resting on her belly. 5 minutes, that's all. Daniel had 100 questions and didn't know which one to ask first. Why did you leave? He finally said. Maya looked up at the strip of dark sky visible between the buildings. It's because I had to. That isn't an answer. It's the only one I have for you right now. The baby. He paused. Please, Maya, just tell me. She was quiet for a long time. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, yes, he's yours. The alley tilted slightly. Daniel steadied himself against the wall. He? I'm carrying a boy. A son. His son. And he hadn't known. For 8 months, he hadn't known. Why didn't you come to me? His voice cracked. We could have worked through it together. Work through it? Maya laughed, a brittle, hollow sound. With your mother standing in the middle of everything? Daniel went still.
You have no
My
idea
mother.
what I've carried.
Your mother has
months of
everything
this
to do
pain.
with why I'm standing in this alley right now, Daniel.
no idea
She's
what
the
I
reason I ran. She's the reason I've been hiding. She's the reason I'm working 3 jobs instead of... She stopped herself. That doesn't make sense. She never even warmed to you, but she wouldn't... She hated me. Maya's eyes blazed. From the moment I entered your life, she worked to destroy what we had, and you never saw it because you were always somewhere else. In a meeting, on a call, closing a deal, always somewhere else. What did she do? The dinner parties where she forgot to tell me the dress code, the family events where she introduced you to other women right in front of me, smiling the whole time, the comments about my education, my upbringing, my family, the way she looked at me, always like something that had been brought in on someone's shoe. Maya's voice had started to tremble. And then, 9 months into our marriage, she invited me to lunch, just the 2 of us. She ordered wine I knew I wouldn't drink, smiled across the table, and offered me a check, a very large one. She told me I was wrong for you, that I would always be wrong for you, that the kindest thing I could do was disappear. The ground shifted beneath Daniel. You didn't tell me? I tried, Maya's voice rose. I tried so many times, but every time I brought her up, you had a reason for her. She means well, you'd say. She's protective. She doesn't know how to show affection. You always had an explanation, Daniel, and the explanation always ended with me being wrong. He wanted to argue. He couldn't. When I found out I was pregnant, Maya continued, softer now, I thought it might change things. I thought maybe a grandchild would open something in her. I told her before I told you. She came to the apartment while you were at work, and I was so relieved and so hopeful. Her voice dropped. She told me that no court in this country would give a child with the Reeves name to someone like me, that she had lawyers, that she had connections, that I would hand that baby over before I got the chance to love him. Daniel pressed his back against the opposite wall. He felt hollowed out. No, he said, but even as he said it, he knew it was possible. He had watched his mother dismantle business rivals with surgical precision. He had watched her ruin careers and friendships and partnerships to protect what she believed was hers. Why would she treat Maya any differently? I was terrified, Maya said. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was her taking him from my arms. So I left. I left to keep our son safe. Silence settled between them. I looked for you, Daniel, finally said. I hired people. Your parents said they didn't know where you were. I made them promise. I told them I needed time. I told them I wasn't safe. You were safe with me, Maya. I would have... Would you? She looked at him directly. Or would you have listened to her tell me I was unstable, that I was dramatizing, that I was trying to manipulate you? Because you've done it before, Daniel. You've chosen her version of reality over mine more than I can count. The silence that followed was the most honest silence of Daniel's life. I've been in a one-room flat on the east side, 12-hour shifts, 3 different employers. I've done what I had to do. But I'm tired. I'm so tired. Daniel moved closer. This time she didn't step back. You don't have to keep doing this alone. I don't know if I can trust that. I know. He met her eyes. Let me earn it back.
Please just listen.
Let me take care of you and our son tonight. Just tonight. That's all I'm asking. For a long time, Maya didn't move. The baby shifted under her hand.
Please just listen. I need you to understand.
She said at last.
Understand what
but this is my way, not yours. I'm not coming back to your penthouse. Not until I know she can't reach me. Wherever you want. I'll make a call right now. She nodded. He pulled out his phone. This is Daniel Reeves. I need the top floor suite at the Meridian tonight, immediately. And I need an obstetrician, the best available, to meet us there within the hour. Maya watched him make the call. When he hung up, she looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. My car's out front. Can you walk? I'm pregnant, not made of glass, she said. And just barely, in the corner of her mouth, there was the ghost of a smile. They walked around to the front of Obsidian. Daniel's silver car was waiting. His driver, Thomas, stood holding the door open. When Thomas saw Maya, he stopped cold. Miss Maya? He turned to Daniel, completely lost. We didn't know where. Just open the door, Thomas, Daniel said. Thomas opened it. Daniel helped Maya in carefully. The car moved through the city lights, past the restaurant district, toward the towers of glass and steel where the Meridian Hotel rose 50 floors above the waterfront. Lily, Maya, sat looking out the window, her hand on her belly, her face quiet and far away. Daniel watched the reflection of the city move across her face. I know you don't believe me right now, but I will make this right, whatever it takes. She didn't look at him. You can't fix everything with words, Daniel. Then I'll fix it with everything else. She finally turned to look at him. She's not going to let this go. Your mother, when she finds out I'm back, she won't come near you. I promise you that. You can't fight your own mother. Watch me. The Meridian lobby was all warm marble and amber light. The suite on the top floor had 3 rooms, a panoramic terrace, and a bed that looked like something from a dream. Maya stood in the middle of the living area and turned around slowly. This is too much. It's a starting point, Daniel said. A knock at the door brought Dr. Priya Mehta, calm-eyed, mid-40s, with a warm authority that filled the room. I understand we have an expectant mother who needs care, she said. She looked at Maya with steady, professional kindness. Shall we take a look at how you and your baby are doing? Maya nodded, suddenly looking very young. Daniel stood by the terrace door while Dr. Mehta examined her, asking questions in a low voice. The city glittered below them. When was your last prenatal appointment? Dr. Mehta asked. Maya looked at her hands. Before I knew I was pregnant. Dr. Mehta didn't flinch. We'll take care of everything from here. Tell me, how have you been feeling? Exhausted. My back hurts constantly. I get dizzy sometimes. Are you eating regularly? A pause. when I can afford to." Daniel turned away and looked out at the skyline. His jaw was tight. Dr. Mehta produced a small device. "I'm going to find your baby's heartbeat. Is that all right?" Maya's breath caught. "Is he okay? Is everything—" "Let's find out together." The device touched Maya's belly. A moment of quiet. Then, thump, 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 thump. Fast and strong and insistent. Daniel forgot to breathe. He walked closer without deciding to. Maya was crying. Not in the way she had cried in the alley, not from fear or pain. These were different tears. "That's him. That's really him." "That heartbeat is excellent, strong, consistent. He's a fighter." Daniel stood at the edge of the couch. "Can I?" He stopped. Maya looked up at him. Something in her walls just for a moment gave way. She reached for his hand and placed it on her belly. A kick. Firm, deliberate, undeniable. "Oh," Daniel breathed. "He does that constantly," Maya said softly. "He knows my voice," Daniel said, half to himself. Dr. Mehta finished her assessment and delivered her verdict. The baby was healthy and strong, but Maya was underweight, anemic, and showing signs of severe exhaustion. She needed rest, nutrition, and no more long shifts on her feet. After the doctor left, the suite grew quiet. "You don't have to keep working," Daniel said. "I'm not taking your charity." "It's not charity. That's my son." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "What happens when she finds out I'm here?" "I'm going to see her first thing tomorrow morning. I'm going to tell her what I know and make it very clear that she will not come near you or our child." "She'll deny everything." "I know. I don't need her to confess. I just need her to understand what will happen if she tries anything." Maya looked at him for a long time. "Okay," she said finally. "Tonight I'll stay. But I'm not ready to go back to your world, Daniel. Not yet. I need to know it's safe first." "Fair enough." He showed her to the larger bedroom. She stood in the doorway looking at the bed. "When did you last sleep in a real bed?" "Mine's not much of one." "You don't have to go back there." She went in. The door closed. Daniel stood in the living room in the dark, looking out at the city below. Then he took out his phone and dialed. His mother answered on the second ring. "Daniel, darling, how was dinner?" His voice was quiet and very still. "My office, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Don't be late." "Is something wrong? You sound—" 9 o'clock. He ended the call. He sat on the couch for a long time, listening to the city breathe, and waited for morning. In the bedroom, Maya lay in the soft dark with her hand on her belly. "We're safe tonight. I don't know about everything that comes after, but tonight we're safe." For the first time in 8 months, she fell asleep without an alarm. Daniel did not sleep. He sat on the couch until the sky turned gray, then pink, then gold, replaying every conversation, every moment he had dismissed, every time Maya had started to say something and he had changed the subject. He had failed her. There was no softening that. He had been so committed to his idea of success, his mother's definition of strength, that he had made himself blind to what was happening in his own home. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he stood at his office window when the elevator opened and his mother walked in. She was dressed perfectly, as always, not a strand of hair out of place. She smiled at him as she crossed the room. "Good morning, my darling. I sounded so dramatic on the phone." "Sit down, mother." She paused, sat. "I saw Maya last night." Mrs. Reeves' expression got very still. "She told me everything. The check you offered her, the threats about the baby." "Daniel," Mrs. Reeves' voice was careful, measured. Whatever that woman told you, she is not someone to be trusted. She was always prone to... She didn't come looking for me. Daniel's voice was quiet but absolute. She was hiding. She was working 3 jobs to survive. She was trying to stay invisible. People who invent stories to manipulate don't live that way. They come back and make demands. Silence. She's 8 months pregnant, Daniel, with my child, my son. And she spent those 8 months alone and frightened because of what you said to her. Mrs. Reeves rose from her seat. I protected you. You decided what was best for me without asking me. And in doing so, you took everything from me that actually mattered. She was wrong for you, Daniel. Her background, her family, she never belonged in our world. She belonged in my world because I loved her, and you couldn't accept that because you were afraid of what it meant for your place in my life. Mrs. Reeves' composure cracked just slightly. I raised you alone, everything you have. I know, and I am grateful, but gratitude is not the same as permission. You do not have permission to decide who I love. You never did. What are you saying? Daniel sat on the edge of his desk and looked at her. He saw the fear behind the control. He had always seen it, but had never known what to do with it. I'm saying that Maya and our son are my first priority. Not the company, not our name, not what anyone thinks. Them. If you choose her, I have chosen her. I chose her the day I married her. I just didn't protect that choice. He stood. If you want to be part of our lives, part of your grandson's life, you'll need to apologize to Maya, genuinely. And you'll need to...
Maya answered. Hello? It's me, he said. I spoke with my mother. She won't come near you. I made sure of it. A pause. What did you do? I told her the truth. And I told her what would happen if she ever threatened you again. Silence on the line. Then, very quietly, she's still your mother, Daniel. And you're still my wife. You come first, both of you. The weeks that followed were quiet and careful. Maya moved into a bright apartment Daniel had rented. 3 bedrooms, high ceilings, a room ready to become a nursery. Separate bedrooms, her terms. He agreed without hesitation. Dr. Mehta saw her twice a week. The baby was growing well. Maya was gaining strength. They talked, more than they had ever talked during their marriage. Daniel told her about growing up in the shadow of his mother's ambition, being taught that emotion was weakness, that perfection was survival. Maya told him about the 8 months of fear and exhaustion, the nights she had lain awake listening to her body and wondering if she was enough. Slowly, carefully, they were learning each other again. One evening, Maya stood in the finished nursery. Soft white walls, a maple crib, a rocking chair by the window. The yellow blanket she had found in a charity shop, her only preparation, bought with money she had barely had, sat folded over the crib rail. Daniel stood in the doorway. He's going to be here any day, Maya said. Are you ready? Not at all, she said. Are you? Not even slightly. She smiled. He had missed that smile more than he had words for. What do you want to name him? He asked. I've been thinking about Elias, Maya said. It means the Lord is my God. But I've also been thinking it just means he's ours. He's our miracle. Elias Reeves, Daniel said. I love it. The baby kicked. He agrees, Maya said. At 2:30 in the morning, 3 weeks later, Maya knocked on Daniel's bedroom door. He was awake before she finished the second knock. I think it's time, she said. He was dressed in 4 minutes. The hospital bag was by the front door. He drove carefully while Maya breathed through contractions that arrived closer and closer together. Dr. Mehta met them there. The next several hours were nothing like the calm of the hotel suite. They were raw and frightening and completely real.
Daniel held Maya's hand the entire time. He didn't let go once. "You're doing it," he told her. "You're doing exactly what you've been doing for 8 months. You're the strongest person I know." "I'm not strong," she said through gritted teeth. "Yes, you are. You just don't notice it because you're always inside it." And then, just before dawn, a small voice filled the delivery room. Not a cry, more of a declaration. Elias Reeves had arrived. Dr. Mehta placed him on Maya's chest. Dark hair, wide eyes, a face that looked impossibly old and impossibly new at the same time. "Hello," Maya breathed. "Oh, hello. I'm your mama." Elias looked up at her with the gravity of someone who had very important opinions about the world. Daniel leaned over them both. Tears ran down his face. He didn't try to stop them. "He's perfect," he said. "He is absolutely perfect." "He has your chin," Maya said. "He has your eyes. He has your stubbornness." Daniel laughed, and Maya laughed, and somewhere in between, Elias made a small sound of disapproval. 2 months later, Mrs. Reeves arrived at the apartment. She hadn't called ahead. She stood at the door looking smaller than Daniel had ever seen her. "I heard," she said. "I heard he arrived safely." Maya stood in the hallway, Elias in her arms. She didn't speak. "I came to apologize, not because my son asked me to, because I was wrong. I was frightened and selfish, and I told myself it was love, but it wasn't love. What I did to you, what I said, that was cruelty. And I am sorry, Maya. I am deeply, genuinely sorry." Maya looked at this woman who had turned her life upside down. She saw no calculation in her face now. She saw something that looked very much like grief. "I'm not ready to forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time." Mrs. Reeves nodded. "But," Maya shifted Elias in her arms, "he deserves a grandmother. And if you can be that without being a threat, then there may be space for that, eventually." Mrs. Reeves looked at Elias for the first time. Her face softened completely. Tears welled and fell. "He's beautiful," she whispered. "Yes, he is." 6 months after that, on a warm Sunday afternoon, the 4 of them sat in Riverside Park. Daniel, Maya, Elias, and Mrs. Reeves. Elias was on a blanket, sitting up on his own, examining a plastic ring with intense concentration. Mrs. Reeves had started seeing a therapist. She'd said so without being asked, just mentioned it one afternoon as a fact. It had taken Daniel by surprise. It was the most honest thing she had said to him in years. "He's going to walk soon," Mrs. Reeves said, watching her grandson. "Please don't rush him. I'm already exhausted just imagining it." Elias looked up at the sound of her voice and smiled, wide and unguarded, his whole face involved. "That smile is entirely you," Daniel said. "That dimple is entirely you," Maya replied. Elias reached for his own foot and tried to put it in his mouth. "Ambitious," Daniel observed. "He gets that from his father," Maya said. They sat in comfortable quiet for a while. The city hummed around them. Somewhere a dog barked. Somewhere children were running. "I never thought I'd be here," Maya said softly. "In the park?" Daniel asked. "Here, like this, happy." She watched Elias examine a blade of grass with ferocious curiosity. 8 months ago, I was working a double shift and counting what I had left in my account and trying not to be afraid all the time. And now you're here," Daniel said. He took her hand. She let him. "You promised me something," Maya said. "I know. On our wedding day, you promised me protection, and then you didn't." "I know. And then you did. You did, eventually." Daniel looked at her. "I spent years letting someone else define what mattered. I thought success was a number, a title, a deal closed. I thought love was something you fit around the edges of the rest of it." He shook his head. "You showed me what it actually looks like to put someone first. You did that alone for 8 months with nothing." "I had Elias," Maya agreed. "And now you have me, properly this time, all of me." Elias chose that moment to topple sideways on his blanket, look up at the sky, and say, with startling clarity, "Da." Daniel stared. "Did he just—" "He's been doing that for 3 days," Maya said, failing to hide her smile. "I was wondering when you'd finally hear it." 3 days? Daniel scooped Elias up in disbelief. "You've been saying that for 3 days and nobody told me?" "Da!" Elias said again, delighted with himself. Mrs. Reeves clapped her hands together. "There it is." Daniel held his son up against the afternoon light, and Elias laughed, a full, reckless, completely committed laugh, and Daniel's nose with both hands. Maya watched them and felt something settle deep inside her. Not the absence of fear, she didn't think that ever left entirely. Not the end of the hard days, she knew there would be more, but something solid and warm and real. The man who had frozen at the sight of her in a server's uniform had learned finally what actually mattered. Not what he owned or what he was worth or whose name he carried, but who he came home to, who he stayed up with in the night, who he was willing to go to war for. And for the rest of their lives, Daniel never forgot the lesson that began in an alley behind a restaurant in the pale light of a single bulb when his wife finally told him the truth. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're at.